June 2nd, 2025, Islamabad. TikTok star Sonia Yosaf was getting ready for her birthday, laughing with family, thinking it was just another regular day. But then, out of nowhere, 2 gunshots cut through the air, changing the course of her forever. Here are 7 female TikTokers who were brutally murdered.
It was a case that gripped much of the nation, and now new surveillance footage has surfaced of Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie, showing Petito before her death.
August 27, 2021. In a small town in Wyoming, the last known footage of Gabby Petito unfolds, walking through a Whole Foods, her presence caught on camera just hours before her tragic demise. Gabrielle Venora Petito was just 22, a vibrant young woman with a passion for travel and art. She had recently launched her dreams as a van life vlogger, sharing her journey across the country with the world. But behind the smiles and sunsets, trouble loomed. For months, Gabby and her fiancé, Brian Laundrie, had been on the road, their cross-country adventure shadowed by tension. Friends and family later revealed signs of a troubled relationship, but none could have predicted the devastating end. Police had already encountered the couple days earlier in Utah after a domestic disturbance call, a glimpse into the danger Gabby faced. Yet, despite the warning signs, no intervention stopped what was to come. Then came the point of no return. On that late August day, Brian strangled Gabby to death in the remote wilderness near Grand Teton National Park. Using her van and phone, he crafted a chilling illusion that she was still alive, delaying the search that would capture national attention.
The Teton County Coroner Office is filing the following verdict in the death of Gabrielle Venora Petito. We hereby find the cause and manner of death to be the cause, death by strangulation, and manner is homicide.
Gabby's death by strangulation was ruled a homicide. The investigation was meticulous. Over a month, specialists combed through evidence while her body remained exposed to the elements. What followed was a nationwide manhunt for Brian Laundrie, who disappeared shortly after Gabby's remains were found. His story ended weeks later in his own tragic death, a final act in this harrowing tale. Gabby's story resonated beyond headlines. It sparked conversations about domestic violence, the hidden horrors behind closed doors. Experts now emphasize the act as a deadly warning sign, too often overlooked, yet a predictor of fatal outcomes. Her family's pain has fueled a movement calling for better awareness, law enforcement training, and legal reform to protect others trapped in abusive relationships. As Gabby's mother said, the last footage showing her daughter's fragile, guarded state is a haunting reminder that appearances can deceive, and that some cries for help go unheard. The legacy Gabby left is a call to action, to recognize the signs and to intervene before it's too late.
आपको हम खबर से आगाह करें। इस्लामाबाद के इलाके G13 में टिकटॉकर सना यूसुफ के कत्ल का मामला। थाना सुमल पुलिस ने टिकटॉकर खातून के कत्ल।
June 2nd, 2025, Islamabad. TikTok star Sana Yusuf was preparing for her birthday celebration. In her own home, surrounded by family, she thought it was just another ordinary day. But that afternoon, everything changed. 2 gunshots shattered the silence and ended her promising life before she could reach the hospital. This is the dark reality behind social media fame in Pakistan, a world where online success can turn deadly. Today we reveal the chilling details of how a rising star was brutally murdered and the disturbing truth about the dangers female creators face every day. Sana Yusuf wasn't just another TikTok influencer. She was a bright student who loved promoting her Chitrali heritage and advocating for girls' education. By 2025, Sana had 500,000 Instagram followers and a rapidly growing TikTok audience. But her digital success made her a target in a society where women's independence is still controversial for many. Her killer, Umar Hayat, wasn't a stranger. He was a 22-year-old man who had become obsessed with Sana after following her online. Authorities say he repeatedly tried to contact her, showing up at her home uninvited. Sana rejected his advances, but the harassment didn't stop. That fateful June afternoon, Sana's father was away, and her younger brother was in Chitral. Only her mother and aunt were home when Hayat broke in. He confronted Sana in her bedroom, pulling a gun and firing twice into her chest. The shots were so close range that her aunt initially thought it was just a balloon popping. Hayat then tried to shoot Sana's aunt, but the gun jammed. He grabbed Sana's phone, likely to destroy evidence, and fled the scene. Neighbors rushed Sana to the hospital, but it was too late. She died before receiving medical help. Within 20 hours, police tracked Hayat to Faisalabad using CCTV footage. He confessed to the murder, admitting that Sana's rejection fueled his deadly rage. The murder weapon and Sana's phone were both recovered during his arrest.
सोशल मीडिया रिपोर्ट्स में ये भी बताया जा रहा है कि सना अपनी सालगिरह की तैयारियां कर रही थी कि ये सानेहा.
This brutal murder sent shockwaves across Pakistan. Social media exploded with outrage, but also with disturbing victim-blaming narratives. Many condemned Sana for her online presence, suggesting she brought this violence upon herself. Human rights activists like Dr. Farzana Bari called out this toxic mindset, highlighting how independent women are still seen as threats to traditional power structures. The Digital Rights Foundation documented hundreds of online comments glorifying Sana's killer and framing her death as inevitable. But Sana's family refused to be silent. They demanded justice, calling for public execution of her killer and stronger protections for women online. Her father, Syed Yusuf Hassan, urged society to support women's right to work and live freely. The investigation moved quickly. Sana's mother and aunt identified Hayat in a police lineup. The case sparked nationwide protests, with women demanding justice and safer digital spaces. What happened to Sana Yusuf isn't an isolated incident. It's part of a disturbing pattern in Pakistan, where female content creators face harassment, violence, and even murder for daring to exist online. In the first half of 2025 alone, over 700 women were murdered, many for simply asserting their independence. Sana's case remains a flashpoint in the ongoing fight for women's rights in Pakistan. Her killer faces trial, but the larger battle is against the culture that blames victims and justifies violence against women.
Esmeralda Ferrer Garibai's body was found wrapped in plastic in that abandoned pickup truck. It's been reported that 2 men were questioned about her murder. Then, in a wild twist, those men were kidnapped by armed men within minutes of leaving the prosecutor's office.
August 22nd, 2025, a quiet mechanics shop on the outskirts of Guadalajara hides a chilling secret. 4 bodies wrapped in plastic, found inside an abandoned pickup truck. Among them, Esmeralda Ferrer Garibay, a TikTok influencer just 32 years old, alongside her husband and their 2 young children. Esmeralda, known online as Esmeralda FG, was not just any influencer. She shared glimpses of a lavish lifestyle, flaunting designer bags, luxury cars, and glamorous travels. Her nearly 50,000 followers watched as she posted lip syncs, narco corridos, and family moments. But beneath the sparkle, a darker reality was unfolding. Her husband, Roberto Licea, was a car salesman and tomato farmer from Michoacan, a state notorious for cartel violence. Though there's no proof they were part of any criminal group, rumors swirled, and their move to Guadalajara raised questions. Had Roberto crossed a line he shouldn't have? Was the family caught in the brutal crossfire of organized crime? Investigators traced the grisly scene back to that same mechanics shop. Bloodstains and spent bullet casings told a story of execution. It wasn't just a murder, it was a cartel-style message. And the chilling detail, the entire family was killed there, then dumped wrapped in plastic to send a public warning. Minutes after 2 men linked to the shop were released by authorities. They were kidnapped by armed assailants. One escaped, the others vanished without a trace. This was no random act. This was retaliation, intimidation carved into the very streets of Guadalajara. The stakes were clear. This massacre was meant to terrify anyone who dared cross certain unseen powers. The ruthless killing of children alongside their parents shocked the nation and sent a loud, brutal message about the merciless reach of cartels. But this story didn't end with their deaths. Fear gripped local police, reluctant to dig deeper, haunted by threats looming over their families. It's a grim reminder of the thin line between social media fame and real-world danger in cartel territories. Esmeralda's online presence was vibrant, but her fate was tragically silent.
My last memory of Bianca is her looking beautiful, and she hugged me goodbye and said, "I love you."
July 14th, 2019, Bianca Devins had just left home, full of hope and plans for her future. She was only 17, about to start college, and had been excited for her first adult concert that night. But something shattered that night, something no one saw coming. Bianca was a young artist, a dreamer, and a friend who quietly battled mental health struggles, but showed kindness to everyone around her. She wasn't just any teen. She was someone who touched lives in her small hometown of Utica, New York, and online communities where she found refuge. In the months before that July night, Bianca's life was a mix of ups and downs, moments of hope, battles with anxiety and depression, and complicated relationships. She met Brandon Clark through Instagram, a man who seemed polite and charming to her family, but harbored a dark, violent side rooted in a troubled past. Their bond was tangled, marked by blurred lines between friendship, obsession, and control.
That's the worst part, is that I can't take it back. I want to, I wish I could. I would give my life in a heartbeat to Bianca if I could. And I can't.
That night, after a concert in New York City, tension exploded. Clark witnessed Bianca kiss another man, a moment that would trigger a deadly outburst. What followed was horrific, a brutal murder that Clark captured in chilling photos, shared online, sparking shockwaves across social media. Clark's actions crossed every line. The attack was not just violence, but a twisted display of control and possessiveness, a horrific message broadcast to the world. His call to police and the grisly images sent online revealed a man desperate to assert dominance, even in death. The aftermath tore through Bianca's family and community. The tragedy was compounded by the viral spread of the images, inflicting pain not only on her loved ones, but on thousands who saw the brutal reality online. Social media platforms struggled to respond, with their slow action sparking outrage and calls for change. Bianca's parents channeled their grief into advocacy, pushing for Bianca's law to hold social media accountable for violent content. A scholarship was set up in her name to support students studying psychology, honoring her dream to help others facing mental illness. Her story became a stark warning about the dangers lurking behind online connections, especially for vulnerable young women. Bianca's murder was more than a crime. It was a mirror reflecting toxic masculinity, obsession, and the dark underbelly of internet culture. The community still mourns her, haunted by the loss of a bright life cut short. But her memory lives on through art, legislation, and the ongoing fight to protect others from suffering the same fate. What happened that night was a tragic reminder. Even behind the screens, real lives hang in the balance. And when obsession turns deadly, the consequences ripple far beyond what anyone could imagine.
The man accused of killing his wife and one of her friends confessing to his mother on the phone after that shooting.
October 21st, 2021, a luxury apartment high above San Diego turns into a scene of unimaginable horror. In that 35th floor unit, 2 lives were cut short. Ana Abalaban and her friend, Rayburn Barron. Ana was 28, a young woman from the Philippines, full of promise and life. She had come to the U.S. with dreams, supported by the man she married years earlier, Ali Abalaban. Ali, known online as Gin Kid, was chasing internet fame with comedic sketches and impressions. But behind the screen, their marriage was unraveling in the darkest way. They met in 2014, both stationed in the Air Force in Japan. Their love story seemed real, but cracks appeared as Ali's jealousy and controlling behavior grew. Ana stayed loyal, even appearing in his videos, but the pressure was mounting. By 2021, their move to California was supposed to be a fresh start. Instead, it exposed the toxic truth. Ali's online persona clashed with his real life. He live-streamed fights, accused Ana of cheating, and his drug use spiraled out of control. The breaking point came on that October afternoon. Ana was home with Rayburn, the friend Ali resented. Jealousy and rage took over. What happened next would shock the world. Ali barged in, armed, and the violence erupted. The moment Ali crossed the line wasn't just a crime, it was a collapse of everything they pretended to be. His confession to his mother hours later sealed the fate of that tragic day. The pain resonated beyond the walls of their apartment, reaching friends, family, and millions watching from afar. This case became a grim reminder of how social media can mask real suffering. and how dangerous obsession can turn deadly. Anna's family mourned deeply, trying to bring her back home to the Philippines, grappling with a loss no one saw coming. Ali's trial was relentless, the evidence overwhelming. The audio recordings, the surveillance footage, the testimonies, they painted a grim picture of abuse and destruction. In court, Ali's defense tried to explain the unthinkable, but the truth was clear. His words after the verdict revealed a man shattered by his own actions, haunted by what he had done.
But even so, in those 3 days that I took the stand, I was able to share and say a lot of things, except the one thing I wanted to say the most.
Anna Abalaban's story is a chilling example of the dangers hidden behind viral fame. A bright life stolen by jealousy, anger, and addiction. And if you think this tragedy is the worst of it, just wait until you hear what's coming next.
People in Mexico are demanding answers following the death of a TikTok influencer who was shot during a live stream on Tuesday.
May 13th, 2025, Valeria Marquez was live on TikTok from her beauty salon in Zapopan, sharing her day with nearly 200,000 followers. But this routine live stream would end in horror, her last moments captured on camera. Valeria was just 23, a model turned influencer and businesswoman. She had built a promising career blending beauty and lifestyle, with a loyal audience hanging on her every word. Her salon was her dream come true, a symbol of success in a city shadowed by violence. In the days leading up to that fatal afternoon, Valeria had voiced fear. She spoke openly about a gift she was waiting for, a costly, mysterious package from someone she didn't fully trust. Worry was visible in her eyes as she questioned why the courier never revealed his face. Zapopan looks polished on the outside, but beneath the surface, it's one of Jalisco's deadliest municipalities. Shootings are common in its glitzy malls and quiet streets alike. The cartels loom large, and justice often feels out of reach. That day, 2 men on motorcycles arrived at her salon. One asked if she was Valeria. When she answered yes, shots rang out. She was struck twice before the attackers fled. What happened next stunned the nation. The live stream abruptly ended, her phone taken by another woman inside the salon. Police arrived minutes later but could only confirm what the world had already seen: the brutal end of a young woman's life.
Se escucha una voz.
A man's voice is heard saying,
¿Eres Valeria?
"It's Valeria."
Y ella dice sí.
And she says yes, and subsequently the attack occurs. According to the security camera recordings, it should be remembered.
Authorities quickly classified her death as femicide, a gender-based killing that haunts Mexico. Despite rumors swirling about cartel involvement, investigators found no direct link to organized crime. Instead, the focus shifted to the harsh reality of violence against women in the country. Valeria's social media hinted at a troubled past, including messages where she blamed her ex-partner for any harm that might come to her. But official records showed no complaint or request for protection from local authorities. In Mexico, femicide is a crisis, with rates among the highest in Latin America. Thousands of women are killed each year simply because of their gender, and too often, their killers walk free. Experts say this violence is normalized, hidden in plain sight. Social media can raise voices but also expose victims to new dangers, as Valeria tragically learned.
Emotional on the one hand, and on the other hand, it is very, very normal in the Mexican context to start seeing the way in which violence is being normalized.
The fallout was immediate. Vigils and flowers appeared outside her salon. Fans and friends mourned a light extinguished too soon. But even in death, Valeria's story exposed painful truths about a society struggling to protect its women. Her TikTok account was closed. Investigations continue, with authorities interviewing friends and family, chasing leads through CCTV footage and online trails. Meanwhile, the wider world watched, outraged but often helpless, against a wave of violence that seemed impossible to stop.
And I would say one of the top reasons has to do with impunity. We need to remember that in Mexico, around 92% of homicides go unpunished, 92% of crimes go unpunished, and femicide is not an exception. So impunity, I would say, is a large cause of femicide, as it is the lack of gender lenses on the institutions of security and prevention of crimes.
Valeria Marquez's death is a stark reminder for many women in Mexico. Danger lurks even in places meant for beauty and safety. And when justice is scarce, fear only grows louder.
Tonight, she tried to escape a toxic marriage, moved to Chicago, got a new job and a fresh start.
That all ended Monday when police say Sonia Khan's ex found her and killed her in Streeterville.
July 18th, Chicago. Sonia Khan's estranged husband crossed state lines and showed up at her Streeterville apartment. What was meant to be a final confrontation turned into a deadly act. Sonia, a photographer and TikTok voice for women facing divorce stigma, was shot in the back of the head, taking her to the doors of the Grim Reaper. Sonia wasn't just any woman. She was a first-generation Pakistani American who had bravely shared her painful journey through divorce with over 20,000 TikTok followers. Her honesty shed light on the often hidden struggles South Asian women face when breaking free from toxic relationships.
And she had a lot of help from her friends who supported her throughout this entire ordeal until 2 weeks ago. Khan was found dead in her Chicago apartment, shot to death by her ex-husband.
After a 5-year relationship, Sonia married Raheel Ahmad in June 2021. Friends say the marriage quickly darkened. Raheel struggled with mental health, had breakdowns, and made threats. By December, Sonia filed for divorce and moved to Chicago, determined to start fresh. She shared the highs and lows of that process openly on TikTok, something rare and brave in her community, where divorce is still taboo. Her videos weren't just updates. They were lifelines for many women who felt trapped by culture and silence. But as experts warn, leaving an abusive partner is the most dangerous time for victims. Her ex-husband's trip from Alpharetta, Georgia, back to Chicago was no accident. It was a desperate last attempt to regain control, and it ended in tragedy.
But those same experts say the factors of leaving a relationship and also going through a divorce increase the chances of domestic violence and even death.
Despite filing a restraining order and changing locks, Sonia's efforts to protect herself weren't enough. The danger escalated rapidly. When police arrived, Raheel had shot himself, leaving behind a note. Sonia was pronounced dead at the scene. The community was left reeling. Sonia had planned to move back to Chattanooga to put this nightmare behind her. Instead, a candlelight vigil and scholarship fund were set up in her honor, sparking a global conversation about domestic violence and cultural shame. Her voice lives on in the faces of women finally speaking openly about abuse and stigma. But the question remains, how many more must suffer in silence before real change comes?